of your feet. Seeing you again tonight just did. Funny how the years have flown, nothing's changed, and girl, you know that I belong to you. For a moment I went back in time, it passed before my eyes. The love, the heat, the passion that we shared. You look the same, so beautiful, nothing's changed, and girl, you know you're still the one I want, baby, stuck in my heart, and I'm just gonna tear us apart. Those summer nights, wildfire, crazy, crazy nights. It's never been more obvious, I guess I always knew that I belong to you. Oh yeah, I belong to you.
Hi everybody, this is Richard Sachs, your host for Lost Arts Radio. This is our show for Sunday, the 4th day of June 2017. And really nice to have you with us again. We've been having a lot of shows on some pretty serious issues, the last one being 5G, and hope that you got an opportunity to hear that. I'd invite you to listen to the archive of our show with Susan Clark if you get a chance. But I also want to balance that out, because although there's these kind of life-threatening things happening all over the planet, there's also a lot of inspiring, really wonderful things happening, and there's great people all over the place that you don't usually hear about, and I wanted to use our platform to bring some of those out and support the inspiring work that they're doing, and so we have a chance to do that for this show, and I hope that you really enjoy it. I feel really fortunate. We've got Alina Bartell, who is the owner of Natural Clothing store in Washington State, and I want to introduce you to her and see what one person can do toward healing the world by example, you know, for herself and her family and her community, and through the online system, rest of the world. So welcome, Alina, and thank you for giving us the time. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to our getting to talk.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So what I want to do is just for the people that, you know, I want to make it personal so they get to meet you in person as much as possible on the radio, and also find out, you know, you weren't always the owner of an organic clothing store, so I want to go all the way back to where you started to let people know, you know, they can do great things from any situation and see how it started for you. So let's go back to when you were a lot younger and before you were involved in any of this, and hear how it all developed, and then we'll get into what you're doing now.
All right. So originally, the listeners can hear from my accent that I'm foreign-born. I was born in Poland,
right?
Which at that time was a communist country, was a relatively poor country, and as I was growing up, you know, it affected a lot of everything that I'm now. But as I see, actually in a very positive way. When I grew up in Poland, everything was relatively scarce. So you grew up with tremendous appreciation for everything you had. You know, we're going back to recycling and treasuring things. You know, when I grew up, there was no packaging. You did go to the store with your own bottle for milk. You did go with your own bag. Food was, you know, good food was relatively scarce, and you really were cautious about what you ate. But what we had is food was grown on a small farms. Agriculture wasn't wasn't part of the communist system. There were millions of little farms. Farmers didn't have money for pesticides or herbicides or, you know, commercializing anything. So it was grown just like in your own garden. It was actually very healthy.
Yeah.
So when I bring it back now to these are kind of the values that I grew up with, of treasuring everything that you have and really treasuring things that are natural and organic, as we call it now. You know, mind you, for hundreds of thousands of years, pretty much everything was organic. You know.
Were you in a city environment or out in the country, or what? What was your environment
I was actually in a city. I grew up near Krakow, which is previous capital of Poland, was pretty big city. But it's still, you would go to the little markets, just like farmer markets right now, and you would buy the fresh vegetables and fresh fruits. Also, Poland, Poland is an old country. It's over 1,000 years old. The tradition of even a healing with herbs, with natural, flowers, medicines, that was the first. If you got sick, that was the first defense. The famous chicken soup and the chamomile tea was good for everything. Doctor was something you would go in, in true emergency. And that was really incredible way of start like that, because I have children over here, and it doesn't matter how much of these values I would like to transfer to them, this country is not set up like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. So there's a lot of wisdom that I feel, is coming back, and people are looking for it. But
I want to ask you just a couple of questions and then get back on the train of thought that you're on. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that Poland's a really old country. Can you give us any kind of historical feeling for where Poland came from? I mean, you said it was a communist country when you were born there.
Right,
when did that start, and what was before it? Where did Poland come from?
Well, Poland is original tribe of people. These are Slovak people. It's a Slavian population that was, as a country, was incorporated in 960. So it's, over 1,000 years ago. And unfortunately, we have beautiful location with mountains on the south and Baltic Sea on the north, and a lot of great lands and a lot of, resources. Unfortunately, politically, we were always situated between Germany to the west and Russia to the east. The borders changed all the time. The wars, the tension between everybody involved. So the history of the country was pretty tumultuous. But after the war, Poland pretty much got divided. The borders changed one more time. And, even though we were not part of Russian Republic per se, Russia had a very big control over the country.
Okay.
That's how I grew up.
Okay, good.
And then in 1980 and 81, there was a solidarity movement that started with a strike in the north in a shipyard, and eventually that was which won. They won the rights to organize and to have the union. And
I remember in that year there was a really famous union leader. What was his name?
Right. Lech Walesa.
Yeah, Lech Walesa, right, exactly. I remember.
He became a president, and that really was extremely historic moment because, I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but basically Poland got to the point where economy was so ruined, and the politics were so corrupted that people said enough is enough. We said that many times before, but they were desperate enough. The shipyard workers went on strike and said, we don't care anymore. If you throw us in jail, if you bring the tanks, we don't care anymore. And they won. They had several demands of bringing, that they requested, and they won. And that was the beginning where the whole communist system started toppling, and eventually the Russia split up, and the Berlin Wall went down, and so on. But it started with that movement.
Okay.
So very interesting times.
Yeah. Okay, so what year did you end up coming to the U.S.?
I came here in 81. I came here in 81.
Okay, and you didn't bring very many resources with you, right? Did you come by by yourself or with other people?
No, yeah. That's I was kind of pausing because it's a long story too. I came as a student. I finished studying an architecture in Krakow Polytechnic, and I came for my last big hurrah, last vacation. I had a backpack and a few dollars in my pocket. Really, I didn't know anybody, but I just wanted the last trip. Being I always was curious about the world and loved traveling. And while I was here, there was a temporary. After 2 months that I was here in the U.S., there was a temporary change of politics in Poland. They cracked down on that solidarity that we just talked about. Mm-hmm. They basically was like a civil war in Poland, and all the communication was cut off with the rest of the world. The journalists were kicked out, and I'm going like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do now? And it was President Reagan at the time. He put out an amnesty for people that were basically caught up outside the country. So I took advantage of that and stayed, and
right,
and started from scratch here.
Wow. But you spoke English, right?
I spoke school English, which was very different than what I heard on the street. I was like, oh, wow. But yes, I was able to catch up relatively fast. I met a lot of wonderful people, and, I started working, and I made it. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Now,
but,
and you were leaving family behind in Poland, I assume.
Yeah, I left it. I literally didn't know one single person when I came over here to the States. And when it was called martial law, our civil war, and there was no communication. They would not allow any letters, no phone calls, no nothing. So you didn't know if your family is alive or not. Mm. And eventually, after a few months, the letters started coming slowly, but every letter would go through censorship. So they were literally, it looked like a little puzzle. There were pieces cut out with the scissors.
Wow.
So then you got a letter, and it was even worse because you didn't know what was cut out,
Yeah. Boy, they really put a lot of I mean, there must have been a lot of letters to cut up with scissors. That's a big job.
Yes, I bet.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was quite. But it's taught me a lot. It's taught me that if you want something, you can accomplish it. You can survive. Looking back, I'm glad that I was born and grew up like I did, because I do have that appreciation. My great-grandmother, if a kid would drop a piece of bread on the ground, she would say, pick it up and kiss it. Maybe it wasn't hygienic, but it was a point. This is so precious. You don't do that with food. I help other people. I help remind other people about these values. What we have around us is very precious. We cannot take it for granted.
Right. So you said you were a student when you came. Did you keep being a student, or did you just stop that and start working?
Yeah, I just finished. I just graduated. That's why it was my last big trip, because I knew I will have to go to so-called real life. So I graduated as an architect, and slowly but surely I did start working as an architect and an engineer over here, and had even my own business for a while. And that was, I was actually far away from thinking about a clothing business, other than when I look back, my mom, that's how she supported the family. She sewed all her life. She sewed and sold to stores. Okay. And she also knitted. And my grandmother was a tailor. She would make suits and dresses, from scratch.
All right.
So I did grow up with this, and it was appreciation for beautiful textiles.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, how long did you stay working in architecture?
I never looked at that, probably like 10 years or so, and then my kids were born. We started diversifying, also investing a bit, and and doing the remodeling of historic homes in Seattle. That was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But in 2005, my older son started having very serious health problems, and our lives pretty much changed at that point.
Okay.
That there's nothing else that matters if your child doesn't.
So you skipped over a couple of details because apparently you got married. You got married after you got here.
Oh yeah, I did get married. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I got married. We had 2 children, and we continue professionally.
Yeah.
Until Greg got sick, pretty much.
Okay. So what happened to him? What did he get sick with?
So, there was a long time before, because the symptoms were all over, it was a long time before he was diagnosed. Eventually, we are lucky. We have very good children's hospital. We found a fabulous doctor for him. And all the time, we were also working with several of chiropractors and naturopathics and all kinds of medical system. Eventually, it ended up to be Crohn's disease. Mm-hmm. The problem was that, even though there's no cure, there's many medications that the doctors use, he was not responding to anything. We were climbing the scales of everything they had, and for 3 years, he was just wasting away, basically. Yeah. So that threw me and my husband into several things. First of all, just doing research. Mm-hmm. Anytime, a half a night, doing research, what else could contribute, to his healing? What else can we do? And we really did a lot. My view was like, I'm going to try everything that possibly could work. But unfortunately, there was a long period of time where nothing was working. Mm-hmm. And, or at least seemed like. And so in the meantime, we are researching and getting all books and, studying the internet and everything, what else could help. And in the process of that, anywhere we looked, as you know, you did a lot of research in health, everything we looked, the water, the air, the food that we are eating, the clothes we were wearing, everything we do is not very safe, really, for us human beings. It's so full of contaminants. It's so full of, things that are harmful. That was, on top of, having problems with him, it was very depressing. So it took a few years, but eventually when he stabilized, I decided, I have to do something with that knowledge. There's a lot of other people that are suffering. I'll take one little sliver. I take one little piece, and I'll start doing something with it. And I thought, well, clothes will be the most fun. So, I didn't want to go back to school and restudy all the health and nutritional, even though we were actually health food store owners for a while. So I started a business with natural clothing.
Okay. Now, a lot of people might wonder, we're trying to eat better food and everything, but why does it matter for your health what you wear?
Well, because your skin is the biggest organ of your body. When you eat something that's not good for you, it does go through digestion system, it does go through stomach, liver, The body has a lot of chance to deal with it. Of course, it's not a reason to eat better food, but, at least you have some kind of line of defense, where the skin basically absorbs whatever, you put it in contact with. It doesn't have a choice. Skin doesn't have a choice of shutting down because you are next to the chemical.
So that's why they use like birth control patches or nicotine patches or things like that. They go right into your blood. So I know what you're talking about.
Exactly, it goes directly to the bloodstream. sunscreen. And the difficult part about educating people about clothing is, that it's never been really like that. So it is almost unthinkable that your clothes would be toxic.
Yeah, and they look fine. They look really.
They look fine, but once I started paying attention, there's a lot here I can say, of course, about this. But once I started paying attention, now if I go to the fabric store, and that's what I advise people that kind of go like, she's making it up, or it's not so bad. Go to the clothing store. I mean, but it could be a regular clothing store, or especially the one with fabrics. Fabric, any big fabric store.
Right. So they have these rolls of fabric that you can buy by the yard and that sort of thing.
Right. And and instead of chatting or doing something else, pay attention to your eyes, pay attention to your throat, pay attention to your nose. I can guarantee that one of these places you'll start feeling your eyes sweat a little bit, or itch a little bit, or your throat tightening up, or your nose, itching, having some kind of reaction. I personally cannot stand more than 40 seconds. That's all like that. I just can't.
Right.
I'm now, either I'm more aware, or I'm so sensitive, I have to get out and breathe.
So you don't spend a lot of time shopping in the nurseries where they sell Roundup and stuff like that, I would imagine.
No. Part of, I didn't mention that part. Many people ask, Greg, my son, he has Crohn's. He will probably have it for the rest of his life, but 10 years ago, he was wasting away. He was losing so much blood that we had to rush him and get blood transfusions. It was really bad. Right now, he's fully grown. He just graduated from college. He is handling his disease. He's doing wonderfully.
Good.
He got a great job, and he's thriving. So people ask me all the time, what really made a big difference? And I cannot say 100%, because I don't think that's a one single ingredient.
Right.
That we went to really super healthy. We were always ate healthy food, but I started growing my own vegetables because I wanted to know what exactly that vegetable was in touch with.
Yeah.
We moved to the country. We moved outside the city, and I don't know why, but at some point I knew that just like we're all going to go insane with so much problems, and I didn't care about how much money it cost or what. We sold the house, we moved to the country, we started growing our own things. There is no cell towers around us, there is no highways around us. We found a little piece that kind of stuck in the middle of nowhere where, we are separate. And it took 3 years of him not even going to school, not doing anything. But slowly, he was getting stronger and stronger, and came out of it. Not everybody can do that, obviously. Not everybody can just move out.
Yeah.
But just being aware, how many factors, just listen to your podcast about 5G, the towers, the magnetic fields,
and all these things, just like you said, when you look at the clothes, they look fine. You also can't see 5G, you can't see GMOs, you can't see nuclear radiation, you can't see the cell tower radiation. It's it's all invisible.
Absolutely. I mean, we as humans, we are a very complex system. Nobody ever even knows yet exactly how we work. But we need to have a respect for that. That I think the oldest human remains are about 200,000 years old.
That's about right. Yeah.
200,000, and I'm sure we were older than that, but that's not what they have evidence for.
Right.
But our body worked with the environment for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yes.
And the chemistry, the cell towers, that's just last, 50 years.
Yeah.
Really nobody sprayed clothing with chemicals before. Nobody soaked it in a formaldehyde. So obviously, mentally, it doesn't make sense. Why would my clothes be dangerous?
No, you never think. I mean, people still think that big corporations and governments are actually not insane. They're trying to do things that are good. So you mentioned what's done to clothing. Why don't you tell us what is done to fabrics in general now when they make them commercially?
Okay.
Because almost nobody knows about any of that stuff, I think.
Right. Before I jump into that, just what you said, struck a thought in me too. One of the things why I'm very grateful that I grew up in Poland and I grew up in really tough times with communist government, because when that happened, you learn to look very discriminately at the information. When I was growing up in Poland, I was a little young rebel, like most of the young people are, went to high school and college. I looked, and we knew all the press, all the media is owned by government. So everything you hear doesn't have to be true. It could be, but it doesn't have to be true, and probably not. And when the official comes on a radio or a TV and claims something, it probably is not true because your life experience shows you that nothing is done about it.
Right.
You grew up with that. By osmosis, this is how the world works.
Yes.
And I moved to U.S., and I married an absolutely wonderful person, and I live with absolutely wonderful friends and family. But sometimes I'm shocked how gullible people are.
I know. I totally agree with you. And it's like, but now, the authorities that you're talking about, the old communist authorities that would lie on the media, now they're in the shape of corporate leaders and people that come across as representing you, but they're really not. And they have learned very sophisticated ways of sounding really nice. And so it takes down people's guard, and they just soak in the information and assume it's true. And the other thing, I'll be quiet in a minute, but the other thing is that on TV, they've got this silly idea that there's the liberals and conservatives, and so you can choose one, and everything that one says is right, but the other side is crazy, and it makes you unaware that they're both working together to give you false information, and very few people understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, the mechanisms are the same. I think by the time you get to politic level where you are being seen, there's very few people that I have respect for because it's also corrupted. But at least if you know, then you can make decisions. Maybe also it's still tough, but at least you have a little bit more freedom. If you if you believe any corporation duty is to make a profit for the shareholder.
Exactly right. That's a really important point. The other thing is that government legally is literally now a web of corporations, for-profit corporations.
Right. Of course, it's pretty much owned by them.
Even the cities are now corporations, and they're all, in the same situation that you just said.
Right. Yeah. So just being. If anything that I try to teach my kids, just be discriminate about what believe, especially a lot of young people. Okay, I read it on Google, so it must be true. Well, no.
Yeah.
No,
right.
it's not.
Well, it's got nice colors in the name. It has to be nice.
Right, exactly. But I think they'll learn. So I'm sorry, but going back to clothing, there's actually quite a lot to know about it. First of all, majority, 70 to 80% of clothing now is not made from natural fibers. It's nylon, it's polyester, it's a multitude of brand new types of textiles that are nano this, nano that. You know, they are cheaper. They are the fabric is cheaper. It makes it much easier to print and tons of beautiful colors and different patterns. But, you know, one thing to remember, if anything, you know, people, that nylon and polyester comes from oil. Comes from
all these textiles that you just mentioned, they're basically, if you wanted to put it in really simple but accurate terms, they're solidified petroleum.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all what it is. That's all what it is. So we go and we destroy our environment. You know, we go to wars, we do all these different things to get oil, and then we buy it and wear it. So there's there's kind of ethical aspect to it, but there is another aspect that people also don't understand. If you ever did some repair on your car or did anything to oil your bicycle and then try to wash that clothes, it's not easy to break the oil.
Right.
It's not easy. It does require very, very harsh agent to emulsify it and, you know, turn it, break it down and turn it into thread. So you already, if you touch nylon polyester, you're already dealing with the fabric that's pure chemicals.
Yes.
You know, meaning chemicals, harsh chemicals that are not good for your body.
Right.
And then additional part of it, your skin, like we mentioned before, your largest organ, has several functions. One is basically to keep us in one shape, but, keep all the intestines in, but also to exchange the temperature, adjust to the temperature, to sweat or to breathe. It doesn't exactly breathe, but, changes, absorbs what's in touch with it, and lets the extra heat out.
Yes.
When you wear nylons and polyesters, you can't do that because, it's basically like a garbage bag. It doesn't let anything out.
Okay, right.
But it also was created by harsh chemicals. So you, as a body, you have your warmth, you walk, you sit, you whatever, you expel heat. That gets in contact with the nylon and with chemicals that created it, and everything gets absorbed back.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The skin is actually a huge elimination organ. So, if you really get into looking at all the toxins in the body that cause diseases and trying to get them out, one of the main ways that the body tries to throw them out is through the skin.
Yeah,
and if you're wearing a plastic bag, that's not very good.
No, that's not very good. It's opposite. It's really horrible, actually, for the system. People worry about sweating. There's nothing wrong with sweating. You're supposed to sweat.
Right. Yeah.
And sweating itself actually doesn't even smell. It's the bacteria that grows on it.
What's really interesting is that the bacteria are only there because of the garbage that's in the sweat that's being carried out of the body. I can tell you from experience of lots of people that once the body gets clean from getting rid of the junk food and all the other things, then the sweat doesn't smell bad anymore. That's over.
Exactly.
And the same bacteria are there, but they don't care. They have nothing to eat in the sweat, so they don't make that smell. It's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
But then, you put that garbage bag literally, on it, and you interrupt one of the most important cycles in a body. It's not a favor to anybody. So I have, the name of my business, Natural Clothing Company. I do have I do have a huge disrespect of all the, plastic type textiles. And I know there is a lot of now recycled polyester, which is, I do think it's a step above, just because at least they are trying to save the planet of a lot of landfill and waste. But it's still something to remember that, basically polyester doesn't breathe.
Well, and I would imagine if they recycle the polyester, they have to reprocess it, which requires a lot of new harsh chemicals, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's so many, absolutely. There's so many aspects of that. And then, if you wear a cotton shirt or a hemp shirt or socks and eventually use it, what I do, we make tons and tons of compost. We have, farm animals and so on. And you can throw on a compost, and it might take a long while, but eventually it will break down and go back and creates more soil, which to me is like, that's my biggest pride in life, if I can make more soil.
Yeah,
but, you throw away plastic things, nothing. Eventually all of that breaks down to tiny particles, goes to the water sources, goes
to you can come back in 1,000 years and it's still polluting things.
Right. Poisons the sea life, and there's basically nothing, nothing that's positive. To my customer, I tell that I feel like we have to make a U-turn. Really, we have to stop where we are and to think about, which directions we go, and maybe review the things that work. Like I said, if something worked for a human body for 200,000 years, then maybe it's worth considering.
Yeah.
Instead of
doing and the system wasn't designed in somebody's corporate office. The system was designed in nature.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like the body has this database of things that it knows how to deal with, and then there's things outside that database like polyester, and it doesn't even know what it is.
Absolutely. Just like your podcast with Susan, we cannot tolerate, just because the digital system was invented, the body is not going to change over a year or two into tolerating living with something completely so shockingly different as that. It takes tens of thousands of years to change.
Yeah, and that's if it's going to adapt at all. There are some things that it won't adapt to, regardless of the 10,000 years, I think.
Yeah, that's true. But what you said, I think I totally believe that every cell in my body has the molecular wisdom of its ancestors. Even though, the cells die and get replenished every few years, they pass on that information. That's how we develop. That's how baby knows how to develop.
Yeah.
And that is way, way, way older than,
Yeah. I mean, the complexity of it is almost infinite. It's way beyond our intellect's ability to grasp.
Yeah. And I just kind of taking a look at that and having respect for that. Each of us will make our choices, what we'll wear, what we'll eat, where we'll live. But just really granting a little bit of respect to that, I believe truly that makes a difference between us getting healthier or getting sicker. The statistics that I hear from, now that I get older, from my just people I know around. I mean, you can just look around. Probably everybody knows several people that are diagnosed with this, diagnosed with that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's getting worse very fast right now.
Right. And we are being told, yes, that's how it's going to be. That's how you have to be.
Yeah, it's normal.
If there is five of you in a family, one of you will have cancer, and I go, no.
Yeah, well, actually, they changed their mind on that, Alina. They're now saying 1 and 2. Oh. And they interviewed a doctor. I was just looking up the statistic yesterday on cancer for somebody, and they have the spokesman for the American Cancer Society saying, or I think this was their counterpart in Canada, and they were saying, oh yeah, that's normal. It's because people are now living longer, so they all have to get cancer. It's just normal. Nothing bad is happening.
Right. It's incredible. It's incredible. This is the biggest brainwashing. People, like I said, I'm really grateful for growing up in communism because I started questioning it from the day one. You're born and you start to question what you hear. But, there's amount of brainwashing that all media in the U.S. is pretty much owned also by 2 corporations or 3 corporations. It's except little shows, like yours. Yeah. It's really silly. And clothing is, I picked that area because my son was home, I was home. I didn't want to do anything that would interfere, but I thought, okay, this is something that we all use, and that it's simple. It's simple. Right. You can try, instead of regular socks, try organic cotton socks and see if it's a difference. In particular, I had some, like dry, scaly skin, and it was bothering me. And then I thought, okay, I'm buying these socks that they automatically send me every few months. Mm-hmm. Maybe that has something to do with it. And once I changed, and I started wearing organic cotton socks, the problem never, ever came back. Never. That's for me. Wow. So with just a pair of socks, I can experiment, and I can see, is it true or not? And everybody is different. Different people have different problems, but it's relatively simple to change.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so what was involved in starting the organic clothing business? What did you have to do to get it set up?
Well, it wasn't easy. The concept was, my son was home. He didn't go to school. He was barely starting to stabilize. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do something that I could do at home, and decided I'm going to have a little online store. And I did some research, found 2 manufacturers. They were willing to sell to me, and I was happy. And I started promoting and selling, and I think 4 or 5 months later, one went out of business. Mm-hmm. And I go darn, okay, at least I have the other one. And the other one, 8 months later, went out of business.
And these were retailers that you were selling their stuff?
No, I was a retailer, but online, and they were manufacturers.
I see.
There were small manufacturers. One was from Canada, one was from U.S.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, and and that's where really the business kind of learning began. This is a small niche. People sometimes call me and say, "Oh, why is that so expensive? Why is that so expensive?" It's actually, expense is it's an arbitrary measure. It's how much we will pay for something. Women go to the store and can spend anywhere from $20 for a dress to $2,000 for a dress.
Yeah,
it's very arbitrary. The manufacturing costs are not so arbitrary. It's very difficult to manufacture anything, especially in the U.S. and Canada, because there's so little industry left.
Right.
So if there is no huge volume, if you are trying to make product ethically within that small niche, there's very little savings. There's no basically big enough magnitude, where you can find these little profits. So I started in 2008, now it's 17, so it's almost 9 years. Mm-hmm. Probably literally probably 60% of people that I've ever dealt with, manufacturers, are not in business anymore.
Wow.
It's very, very hard. And then the new person comes in, and they are all excited, and they want to do good, and they need support of all of us.
Nobody even knows about this subject. I mean, most of the public, they don't even have any idea what we're talking about, except for the people that have really done some studying. Right. But it's like with organic food. Organic food is just regular old food. The other stuff is what's unnatural. And it's the same with clothes. The kind of special clothes that you're talking about, that's just clothes.
Exactly.
It's just clothes that haven't been grown.
That should be a standard, just like it was.
So you said there are people trying to start manufacturing these good, clean, organic clothes, and they're all excited, and then most of them didn't make it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, a lot of them don't. The costs are astronomical. That's why people go to China or Thailand or somewhere, and of course, then there's problems with that because, you want clothes that somebody didn't sacrifice their life for making it.
Yeah, exactly. And the work conditions in a lot of places are very bad. Yeah.
In 2013, well, there's fires and problems all the time, but the 2013, there was a fire in Bangladesh in a factory that produced clothes for many, many, many of the U.S. and Western top brands. 1,000 people died.
Wow.
Over 1,000 people died. 2,500 in one day. 2,500 were hurt. The conditions
that must have been
atrocious.
A really nasty place to work, I could imagine.
Yeah, there was the factory was overcrowded. The exits were blocked because there was just productions. They were making pennies, and imagine 1,000 people in one day perished just to make cheap clothes. Maybe they are not sold cheap, but they were probably paid pennies for it.
Yeah.
It's just atrocious. It's just absolutely atrocious. It's not something that I ever would want to have a hand in and trying to do. So when we say, well, this is more expensive, I won't buy it because of that, that's everybody's choice. But if you configured, okay, in that, if you buy something for $9, $10, $19, how much the worker got actually paid, what condition they had to work in, so it would be shipped across the world, made, everybody else got paid, and you could pay that $19. It's not worth it to me. It's not worth to my conscience, But there's something that, what I do buy from, like I said, the industry is small, so I do buy from manufacturers. My preference is U.S. My second preference is if they are outside of U.S., they are fair trade certified, because that's an organization where makes inspections and goes and actually ensures that the artisans making the clothing are paid wages where they can actually live on and conditions that
I see. Okay. Yeah, I know when people go to a natural food store, some of the food is marked fair trade, but of the people I've talked to, almost nobody knows what that means.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means. There's a fair trade organization that actually has a system of checkpoints, because otherwise, and it adds a bit to the price. But, then the person that made that food for you, their blood is not on it.
Right.
And, what's the price of that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, we are all connected. We are all connected. We do have to take care of each other in a small way or big way, however that works. something that I haven't actually brought up, that's the one most important part of where my clothing differentiate from other, but many of the items I carry, they actually have a certified organic certification for them. Okay. Usually it's cotton. Cotton is the most common certified organic cotton. Mm-hmm. And basically that means the same thing as the food, that somebody checks it, that somebody complies with all the regulations, that it's not pesticides treated cotton when cotton is grown. Okay. One of my favorite suppliers is a farm in Texas, which belongs to the same family for over 100 years, where they grow certified organic cotton. And it's called SOS, which is SOS from Texas, which stands from Save Our Soils. Because
nice.
Pesticides, I'm sure you've done a lot of work with that. It's one of the most horrible ways of destroying our health.
Yeah.
Actually, the company that produces some of the most pesticides and herbicide is Monsanto, the same one that created Agent Orange, for Vietnam.
Right. And many other ones. I mean, Bayer Crop Sciences and Syngenta and all these other ones are like Monsanto. They just aren't as big as they would like to be yet.
Right.
But, yeah, they're all similar. But one thing I have to ask you, you mentioned certified organic sources for your cotton and other things. How honest do you feel like those are when they're certified? Are they really clean, or are they making deals to still use poison and get the certification somehow, or is it pretty trustable?
No, they are very trustable. We actually flew and talked to Gary at SOS from Texas, and hearing his story, the farm is in his family hands for over 100 years. He didn't want to have anything to do with it. He went away to Dallas and, trained as actually aerospace engineer and was happy doing that.
Okay.
But then father got ill, and mom says, well, I'll have to sell the farm, literally. So he says it took him a couple of weeks, but then he packed his didn't want to go back also, and went back because he has such a respect for that farm, for that soil,
right.
For the tradition of the family. Most of the people, there's no big corporations involved in organic clothing, at least for right now. They are small people. There are people they're like me. I don't make money on my business. I am glad when it pays by itself. But I offer people choices, so I feel good about that. They do that because they want to create options for people. I also deal with, mostly try to deal with merchants that are certified by, they are members of Green America Network. That's the oldest network for, for organic people. And they actually are checked out very thoroughly.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So would you say that we need more organic clothing manufacturers in America?
Yeah, we need more manufacturing, period. We need more organic manufacturing.
Yeah.
We need more fibers that are not plastic bags. We need a lot. But,
so does it take millions of dollars to start a manufacturing business for organic clothing?
Probably it isn't easy. I cannot say what it takes because I've been trying to manufacture something for the last 4 years, and I cannot find the existing factory that would be able to do that in U.S. or in Canada. I can find it abroad, but I am trying to still stay away from that. It's not easy. Mostly because we gave away most of our manufacture. The machinery that got ripped away from.
And I would be very careful of the language here and try not to say we, because I don't think that was your idea and it wasn't mine. And most of the really good people in this country had nothing to do with that. It was the leaders that had the ideas of destroying U.S. manufacturing, and they've done a good job.
You're very right. You're very right. Exactly.
There's ways
that's what it's. My hands sometimes, just really, I just give up for a little bit, and then for a few months I'll get a new lead, and I try again, and I've talked to maybe 200 different people and places, and it's extremely difficult because that's how much it was destroyed. And, the whole East Coast, it used to thrive on textiles, and,
Yeah, I mean, America was started with small businesses and small farms everywhere. Every town had them. It was amazing. I think I'm just getting the feeling from talking to you too that the best thing we could do with that is find a way to get back to it.
Oh, absolutely, and there are people. I have several lines of products that are made in the U.S. and I'm very proud of them and try to support them as much as possible. So this is the part where the public really has a lot of choice. In many things we go, gosh, this is so difficult. How can I make a difference? Over here, you can make a difference. Instead of buying some, cheap nylon T-shirt from China, buy one that's organic, made in the U.S.
Yeah.
Instead of buying the other socks, buy these ones. Oh, there is no 20 different colors. Too bad.
Yeah.
Just then, if today half of the people in the U.S., half of the consumers in the U.S. would go and decide to buy just organic clothes, in a few months we would have everything. And the prices come down too.
Manufacturers would start all over the place to take care of that demand.
Exactly, yeah.
And the prices would get way lower. The prices would come lower.
Yeah. So there are solutions. Understanding education and then, being on the same page. That really all what it's needed.
Yeah.
One thing when I started the business, like I said, I studied a lot what could help, and what hurts my son's health and all of ours. But I had no clue how serious that can get until I started the business and started talking to people who call me. There's many people that call me that still don't even use the computer. They don't even know that they heard from a friend that I exist, that my store exists. And they call me on a phone and they ask me questions, which is hard to describe, what kind of, like for a woman, what kind of skirt or dress I have for them. But the stories they tell, this can get so serious. People that are so allergic that cannot touch any conventional textile, period. They cannot leave the house because they have nothing to wear. They cannot touch any items because they have to wear, cotton undyed gloves.
But Alina, a lot of those people that are getting damaged that much from what's the chemicals in the clothing, they go to the doctor and it's diagnosed as something else, and they just get put on drugs and they don't even know. Of course, yeah, and it's not really, it's not the common knowledge, and not it's commonly understood. Even if I say it, they have to hear it. The regular people, they have to hear it from a few different sources to start, I think, thinking in a little bit. Yeah. I remember talking to the guy. He used to work as he drove a bulldozer at the landfill. So you can imagine everything, all the hazards, all the plastics, it's kind of like September 11, things smashed together. Yeah, I mean, people want to get in there and throw away whatever toxic stuff they've got and not mention it and then get out quickly and not have to pay for toxic waste removal and all that.
Yeah, So he's middle age. He's on pretty much permanent disability. He says when he went to court, they have to approve it. He just took his long sleeve shirt off, and the judge says, fine, put it back on.
Right.
Because his skin is just peeling off his body.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the Agent Orange worked, pesticides, herbicide, all of this, it damages the body, it damages the nervous system, it damages everything.
Right.
To what degree depends on a person, and many times people say, yeah, I bought the T-shirt and then my whole arm was red or blue or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The dyes, all the dyes in a clothing are chemicals. The new textile that come out all the time, they don't wrinkle. They don't wrinkle because they are finished with the layer of chemicals that wouldn't let them, plastic really, that it doesn't let them wrinkle. The worst what really gets me is the children clothing. The merchants, if they sell something and they say pajama, then it has to be flame retardant.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about flame retardant chemicals and what kind of clothing have those on.
Which one of that is formaldehyde? And it's, to me it's criminal already to put tiny little baby. Because imagine if you weigh whatever, 130, 150 pounds, and put that T-shirt on, and you get a reaction, allergic reaction,
mm-hmm.
and then you put a baby that's 10 pounds in a similar type of clothing. That's like getting 10 times the dose.
Are you saying that formaldehyde is part of the flame retardant chemicals?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, and that's for tiny baby that does not have developed immune system.
I mean, it's not
has the weight of fraction of ours.
It fits right into the general treatment that's being given to babies because when they're in the hospital, they inject formaldehyde into them as soon as they're born.
Yeah.
It's part of the vaccines, right?
On top of that, the physician that was one of the key witnesses or key elements that created that law of that the sleepwear for babies has to be flame retardant is actually from our area. So I was surprised to see, I think it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, where he was brought to court for related but a little bit different reason. And during the court proceedings, they found out, first of all, the cases that he claimed were the cases that the reasons about burned children in a fire that he was treating that were like emotional reasons or main reasons why the law, it became a law. They were made up. They were fabricated. He totally lied about it.
Wow.
He totally lied about it. And he said, well, it's client's privilege, so I didn't want to say real cases. So the whole law was set up, and there was more to it. I don't remember the details, but the whole law that affects every little kid in a country was made by somebody. And he was paid. He was paid by the chemical company.
Right. Wow.
That was another aspect of that.
So what does the law say now? All the little kids' clothing has to be flame resistant, something like that?
Yeah, it's the sleeping for when it's used for sleep.
Okay, so does that mean you cannot sell organic clothing for little kids to sleep in?
No, I sell it, and I'm not supposed to call it a PJs, so we call it long johns or something else. I don't care. I put PJs because that's what parents look for.
Okay, so you mean that the way the law is written, then it says if you call it pajamas, it has to be flame retardant.
Yeah.
But if you don't, it doesn't.
If it's used for sleeping. And there's a beautiful organization over here we have in Seattle, which is Washington Toxic Coalition, which does a lot of work towards informing people and fighting the laws, at least for our state. And there's a lot of progress made. But it was just an example when I looked at that story about his doctor, bribed, corrupted, lying. And then I go, okay, so now the law is going to change, right? No.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. It just gets...
It's amazing. It's
nobody
amazing.
Nobody
it's
gets it.
And, I started because of the children's health, and it's really a very strong subject for me. So we carry a lot of clothing for babies and for kids. It's just a choice. It's just a choice for the parents, and I think more and more parents are getting the information. But it took over a generation to get used to, or to really understand organic food. It probably will take a generation to get organic clothing into the...
Yeah, I don't know what it'll take, because right now, for example, you mentioned Monsanto, but the biotech companies in general have managed to almost totally destroy all the cotton grown in the U.S. It's now mostly GMO.
Right, that's true. And that's, when you were asking about the farms, the smaller organic farms, that is such a tough question, because they have to be viable economically.
Exactly.
Also, there's contamination coming from, you cannot stop the wind, you cannot stop the rain.
Right. I mean, you almost have to put your organic farm in a non-agricultural area to avoid having clouds of poison come over. And, if the laws were reasonable and you had a cloud of poison coming from the neighboring farm, you should be able to get compensation and stop that from happening.
Right.
But apparently all they have to do is warn you that they're going to spray, and then it's your problem.
Right. And if they find contaminated seeds in your field, then you go to jail or pay the penalty.
Exactly. That's an invention of Monsanto and their friends.
It's crazy. But
we have to think of solutions.
I do have hope. I do have hope. In England, for example, which is a very organically oriented country, there's a lot of organic clothing, and there's a lot of organic food, there's a lot of organic skincare, which is, another similar subject. You put it on your skin and it absorbs everything. So it is all people's will to understand and then possibly trying something a little bit. It really is us understanding what is at stake. Especially our children. I mean, these we are so worried about why they are not thriving, why the children's hospitals have more and more patients every single month. And we put them in soaked in formaldehyde clothing. We feed them food full of preservatives. We put these vaccines in them. I mean, at some point, more and more people will understand that you cannot be doing these things and ask for great results.
No, that's right. I think there's a race going on right now between people starting to become aware of this stuff and the government with its partner corporations doing everything they can to keep everybody unconscious. And it's a question of which side will go faster.
Right.
So what kind of clothes are you making available right now? What can people get from you?
Well, on my website, I have a little bit of everything. The most I have women's clothing because women buy the most.
Okay.
I have quite a lot of baby clothing, and unfortunately for men, I have the least, and it's not my choice. It's because, there's the least being made. Men do shop less, though I love selling things for guys because they're consistent. When my husband likes something, then he wants to buy the same and the same next year. A girl wants something completely different next time and next time and next time. So I sell a little bit for everybody because my goal really is to just give options. I will never be, totally full department store, but for me, what's important, so this clothes is ethical. It's ethical clothes, meaning it's healthy for you, it's healthy for the planet, it's something that you're going to be proud of wearing. And if instead of buying, 20 pieces, you buy 2, then that's what it is,
Well, do they seem to last longer than regular clothes? How does the lifespan work out?
I wear pretty much everything, and I wear only things that I have in my store, and so far it's lasting me 9 years. The quality is good. The sizes, the colors, all of that, it varies because it comes from many different manufacturing, and I said they are relatively small.
Yeah.
It is a hard jump of how to jump from something bought in Walmart to having the same kind of selection and pricing in something that's made without use of chemical, grown on a small farm, made by a small factory.
Yeah.
There's a difference. There's a difference. I don't know how can it be jumped just in small steps. We kind of have to support who does the good work, and then they can grow, and then they can provide more options.
Yeah. Is there a big problem with getting the sizes right online because of all the different standards of how they're, labeled from different factories?
Sizes are challenging. There's really no good standards, that manufacturers have to adhere. So even though we list all the sizing, it might vary. I always try to put in a description, if it runs small or big. And there's 30-day, policy as long as unworn and unwashed. There's also another aspect, that because the fibers are natural fibers, they have these beautiful values, which also can be something made of plastic. You can cut the exact size, and 1,000 pieces will be exactly the same. Cotton, you will pass through, they do like a kind of pre-shrink steam process. It may vary a bit. It is challenging. And you have small manufacturer, they might not have as much, equipment or everything to make everything precise.
Yeah.
I think, I'm very happy, and I have, lots of very happy customers. But sometimes it does take a little bit trying, and also the care for it doesn't have to be different. I wash everything pretty much in a washing machine. I air dry it as much as possible. But if you put something, if you just like my boys, you pull it out of the washer and throw it in a hot dryer, the natural fibers will shrink. Just like the cooking.
Right.
So you might have to be a little bit more respectful to it.
So what do you do? You dry it at lower temperatures? Set your dryer
exactly. Just dry it at lower temperature. If something's really delicate, hang it on a hanger and put it outside or inside to dry. I really do think it is making a big U-turn to a little bit what it used to be. Life used to be a little bit slower, With a little bit more attention to what we have. We don't need volume. We don't need hundreds of things. We can have few, but then take care of them properly. So
it's a whole different consciousness, I think.
It is. It is.
You know, a lot of the super, the trillionaires that are running the world into extinction right now, personally, for their own families, a lot of them are running away to very remote places, not letting their kids use electronic devices, and they're creating a life like 1950 while they make everybody else go into virtual reality.
Right. Yes, I was surprised. I was reading an interview with Bill Gates sometime, and he says, his daughter has I don't remember what it was, 45 minutes or something limit on a computer. I go like, whoa!
Yeah.
That's really different.
He's probably, giving all the other toddlers their first computer at age 1.5, but his own kids have Tinker Toys instead.
Yeah, but I think we really... we've talked about it earlier. Our body does have all the wisdom that we need. We just need to listen. I think we all crave slowing down a little bit and kind of taking a deeper breath.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just having less and doing less, but what we do and what we have being very meaningful. And when I go to a little town and when I see a little store, I go and I get something to support them. It connects us all, you know?
Right.
Because I knew that if she will do well, it will be benefit for me also and for others. So all of that is connected. And I think deep down we all know it. It's just stopping long enough to really listen.
Yeah. I mean, if you had to tell one word to people for your whole message, that could be it. Listen, if they understood what you meant.
Absolutely.
So do you sell in stores too, or just direct online?
I sell mostly directly online. I had a brick and mortar store for a few years and in our town, and it was wonderful. But basically, it was just too much. It was too much to do. So online, I can reach people from all over. I get orders from all over the world, and so naturalclothingcompany.com is mostly where you can find me.
Okay, and it's naturalclothingcompany.com?
Company all spelled out.
Okay, company.com, right. And so why don't you give a little bit more detail of the kinds of clothes that you have?
So, I carry pretty much everything for men, women, and children. So I have dresses and skirts and pants and so on, and of course for men, tops. But what I feel the most passionately about, what I promote the most, is things close to your skin because of everything that we talked about. This is what touches your skin. This is, if it's chemically laden, your body will absorb, if you buy conventional items. So it's most important to, if anybody wants to make a change, start with that. Start with underwear, start with socks. Socks, all this detoxification that happens in the body because of the gravity when we up, heat gets really a lot, of importance.
Right.
So it's very important that this is chemical free, and that's the fiber that can breathe, that can work with your skin, can adjust to it. When I talk about I would like to manufacture some clothing, one items like organic men's underwear, that's something I get just tons and tons of requests. And, I have some, but not as much choice as I would like to. Because guys understand, and women too, that it's so important.
Yeah.
So this is the best thing. to start with. I also have a lot of information on my website when you go to the section about fibers, about how different fibers differ from each other. I have topics, I have pages with the reports that you can download. Greenpeace did for several years very, very extensive study. They involved, I think, 29 countries, clothing from 29 countries, and it was totally done independent by, paid by very good, reputable firms employed. They did studies with hundreds some items of clothing to find out what chemicals, what they contain, and they found most of them contain very, very harsh cancer-producing chemicals. So if somebody is very scientifically oriented, they can find out exactly what it is. This is not just hearsay.
That would be
there's
good.
Evidence for all of this.
And of course, since you're not eating it, there's virtually no restrictions on what can be in there, right?
Exactly. There's absolutely. You can soak it in arsenic and so.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you've got all kinds of stuff like that. You said that you were trying to manufacture some of your own, but you couldn't find the right factory in the U.S., something like that?
Yeah. It's, underwear is not easy to produce. It's next to your skin. The seaming, the way that it's sewn has to be very flat, gentle, stretchy. There's a lot to it.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much what I'm told. Like I said, I talked to maybe 200 people so far. It almost doesn't exist.
Okay. Well, you're saying that the manufacturing of it almost doesn't exist?
Right. Yeah, right. There's little bit not available to me right now. There's some manufacture of just clothing in general, but not in particular, like men's boxer shorts.
And you cannot get a regular factory to manufacture organic clothing if it's going to get cross-contaminated, right?
That's another issue. That I work with people that are. I want to work with people that are on the same page.
Yeah.
That have similar standards, that have similar value. Who knows? It might still happen. Because I get phone calls all the time. Yes. When are you going to have this? When are you going to have that?
Exactly. And even if you're selling it right now from overseas manufacturers, if you start selling enough of it and there's an obvious market, that's an incentive for a U.S. manufacturer to start, I would think. Right.
There are incentives, but economics just are still working against that,
Yeah.
But
it's almost like we need a little bit of a new economic system, not taken care of by government, but just something where it lets the people have more freedom to connect the money to things that are actually helpful.
Right, absolutely. To start anything on a bigger scale, you do need machinery, so it's a major capital investment in that.
Okay.
The old machinery is out of whack by now, and the new machinery is expensive. So it is major undertaking, but if we all go towards that direction and support that, it's going to happen.
So if you found a place that was manufacturing, say, conventional T-shirts, would it be very hard to make that place safe for organic manufacturing?
Well, it depends. Like I said, there's a little bit of different technology for the underwear. So they would probably have to have additional equipment and additional standards. But it could be made.
Okay.
It could be made.
All right. They just need the motivation. All right. So,
a little bit, yeah.
Well, if you want people to go away understanding something from all this discussion that we've had, to take with them and a direction to go with all this and what to study? What do you want them to remember from this talk?
Oh, that your health really depends on what you put inside and on it. You know, there are other factors, genes and so on, but really what you put inside your body and on your body, this is what your body has to deal with. So clothes is, part of it.
Right. So even if they could start with a little bit of underwear or socks or something that would change what they're being exposed to, this would be a really good starting point. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, it would be huge because this is right next to your body, next to your body. And you cannot like, I see a lot of moms, they will go to good health food store and buy really good things, but wearing, these
nobody thinks about it.
No, and they don't know, and it's hard because you cannot like keep telling everybody, But our body is affected by many things. You have to look at that holistically at more than just one item.
Yeah.
I eat organic carrots, so I will be fine. No, there's more to it, and it doesn't really. It's not like a huge revolution, Just buy organic socks and see if you like them.
Right. See what happens. Did you ever think about writing something that?
Yeah. I'm actually in the process of writing a book because I think there's very little information. So I'm actually in the process
nobody's
of
heard of
writing
this
the book, and I keep trying to shorten it.
Okay.
But there's a lot to say.
So how far along are you with that?
I'm hoping halfway.
Halfway? Okay.
But, life comes in.
Yeah. Well, that will be exciting when you get it done.
Yeah,
okay.
I definitely will let you know.
Yeah, I want to promote that so that people can know about what's going on with it.
Wonderful.
All right. Well,
wonderful.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the education. I've learned a lot. I'm going to become a customer of yours. And
great.
I hope everybody else does
That's
too.
wonderful. And actually, I can give a gift to your listeners and give like 10% discount.
Okay.
I'm thinking like how to make it short.
Well, you can just make a code or something. So
yeah, exactly. I was thinking something similar to the name of your show, so it would be easy to remember.
Well, the show is Lost Arts Radio, so anything.
How about Lost Arts?
Lost Arts would be fine.
You put the code Lost Arts and you get 10% off.
Do you have a place on your order form on your site to put a code in? Yes.
At the checkout, there's a place for a code, so you just... Anybody can put Lost Arts and you get 10% off.
Yeah, let's do that. And then, of course, anybody that wants to pay double and support your business, they can do that too.
Yay! Yes, they can. We'll work it out.
You could. All right. Well, that's wonderful.
Good idea.
Yeah, that's exciting. So everybody who wants to get some socks or underwear or a nice dress or whatever and see what it feels like on your skin to wear organic clothing and stop wearing a glyphosate patch around all day without knowing it, which is what we're all doing.
Right.
Yeah, put Lost Arts Radio. First, you have to go to naturalclothingcompany.com and find the order form, right? There's probably a tab that says shop or something like that.
Right.
And then is there a field that you enter the code that you've already got in there, or do you need to make one?
Yeah, I'll make it right away. So it's when you go to checkout, there will be a field. Put that discount.
Okay.
Put Lost Arts.
Lost Arts. That would be great. Lost Arts. I'm sorry. All right. Well, thank you. That was an incredible lesson on clothing. I hope we can keep learning more about it. We'll keep up with what you do, and when you get your book written, I definitely put that up on our website everywhere. So
it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
same
for doing the good work.
Okay, well, hold on and we'll say goodbye in the break here.
Okay.
Okay, so that was Alina Bartell. Hope you enjoyed it. I really got a lot out of that discussion and really appreciate getting to talk about solutions. And, I know we need to know about all the bad things that are happening and the 5G and the chemical food and the GMOs and the nuclear power and the chemtrails and the drugs and the vaccines and all that stuff. But if that's all there is, then, we're kind of missing the main point, and we're losing perspective on purpose, because just going over and over the bad stuff, you might need that for strategic awareness, but that only goes to a certain point. And then you get to the question, what are we going to add to the situation while we're here through our own life? And also wanted to mention to you, Alina brought up an important point, at least one that I think is really important, and that's about economics. And, the reason that organic clothing costs as much as it does right now is because nobody knows about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody tells their friends. They don't discuss it when they're talking about health. And yet, this is critically important for health because, as I think we mentioned during the discussion, the reason it works to wear chemicals on your skin like a birth control patch or a quit smoking patch or something like that is the chemicals go right through your skin into your blood. They don't even have to go through your stomach and your liver and all this stuff, and your body doesn't detoxify them. It just eats them direct. So it's very powerful. It's much more powerful than eating a glyphosate residue in food is to put it on your skin and have the glyphosate go right into your blood. And I just don't think it's a coincidence that our rulers decided to use cotton as one of the crops that they would totally ruin and turn into GMO, which they did in the US and some other places, and they're of course using it for foreign aid and all kinds of nefarious things like that when it shouldn't even exist on the planet, but it does. And it's not just the GMOs, it's the residues from pesticides, and it's the chemical fertilizers to a great extent that make the pesticides appear necessary, as we've said before. Sometimes people think that the pesticides are really bad, but chemical fertilizers are good or at least neutral. That's not true. And I'm not saying this because I read it somewhere. I've been involved in agriculture since the mid-1960s, and I can tell you for sure that when you use chemical fertilizers to supply the nutrients that should come from healthy mineralized soil, which you could do with natural means that don't need any chemicals at all, when they come from chemical fertilizer, the plant gets weak and imbalanced, just like a person that gets weak from eating chemical food. And then the insects and disease come in to kill all the plants, and that's not an accident either. That's because nature is designed to have it work that way so that you end up with a strong overall population of plants, and the animals and people that eat them stay healthy. So the chemical fertilizers are a real curse to humanity, even though they're presented as something that's saving us from starving to death, as you might say in a very mild tone. That's not exactly accurate. The chemical fertilizers have made a giant mess, and in fact the guy that invented them, the one that's known as the father of modern agriculture, Justus von Liebig, said, near the end of his life, he said, sorry about the chemical fertilizers, that was a mistake, but it was obviously way too late, and the industry has gotten tremendously powerful and is one of the ones that shares ownership of governments all over the world, certainly in the US and many other places. And people don't even mostly know that chemical fertilizers are terrible for the earth. They think that they're out, feeding starving populations and stuff. That's not true. Anyway, as far as the economics of the whole thing goes, people need to understand that what we put on our skin, and I've been guilty of this too. I haven't been swimming in money for a long time, and the cost of organically grown fabrics that have clothing, organic clothing is a lot higher than the chemically soaked clothes, and I haven't been wearing organic clothing, but I'm going to really try to at least start, buying a little bit of it, some socks and underwear and the things that go close to your skin first, and then gradually build that up, take care of it, and hopefully it becomes more and more of your wardrobe. So remember that there is an opportunity to get this special 10% off deal that Alina is offering just to Lost Arts Radio listeners who put in the code Lost Arts when you shop on her site, which is naturalclothingcompany.com. natural, not the word the, but just naturalclothingcompany.com, and go to the shopping tab and put in Lost Arts, and you get 10% off. Excuse me. And when you order over a certain amount, I think it might be like $120 or something, which might be beyond a lot of people's budget. But the ones who can order that much, I think she also throws in free shipping. So you might want to look at that. Anyway, the reason I bring up the economics is we have to figure out how to break that cycle and start connecting prosperity and abundance and really successful finances with completely good projects that are absolutely beneficial to everybody involved, a win-win situation. Need to figure out a way to break the cycle. And I think the only way I can see right now that you would start that is with education and raise awareness. And in this, we're going to be looking at a lot of different areas of what you might call organic living. And I'm not talking about the USDA organic program because that has issues with it. I'm not saying not to buy certified organic food. It's a lot better than conventional chemical food, but we need to go much further. And the whole idea of organic started long before USDA had any involvement with it. I was working with organic agriculture in 1965 or 6, and when I was a student with Alan Chadwick during my university time, we were growing beautiful organic food at the school that I was at and giving it away to people that came by, not dealing with the economics, of course. The university was giving him a survival stipend. He barely was alive, but financially he wasn't making any money, but we grew this beautiful food. We need to be able to figure out how to connect that to money, and certainly the certified organic program could be one initial element of that. I just would like to find ways where people without a lot of resources financially could get into organic farming. And one of the important aspects of organic farming is growing organic cotton and other fiber sources like organic bamboo, and maybe, sheep that are fed organically for wool and things like that are just not chemically treated. And it needs to come into more widespread availability. And I think this is a big opportunity for people that wanted to get into businesses that are almost completely non-existent right now. And hopefully that'll become more and more possible, and people will be encouraged to do it. So the other thing is, if you happen to have money right now, it's a tremendous opportunity in how you choose to spend it. Because whatever you spend your money on, you're supporting. So that's one reason that, for example, if you have money invested just in an account to pay you money, you really want to encourage those investment companies not to invest in Monsanto and biotech and nuclear power and things that are completely destructive, and select ones that are doing good things. And by the demand, supply and demand forces in the supposedly free market that we need to get back, that would encourage the investment companies to support things that are good, and not for investors not only to think of percentage return, but in what you're supporting. And I think even if we don't have much money, our actions are investments, and our thoughts are investments, and what we say are investments. So it's no excuse if you don't have any money, you're still an investor. And me too, and everybody. And so where we're putting our attention, and what kind of words we give to other people, how we think of other people, and what we wish for other people. We've talked about this a lot on Saturday on the discussion show that I invite everybody to participate in. And I think it's good to remember you're an investor. It doesn't matter if you don't have a dollar. You're investing your attention, what you speak to other people, how you act, the facial expressions you make, what you do buy when you buy something. We need to become smarter investors and support the kind of world that we want to have come back, and have this idea be open to being more successful and prosperous with money without ruining the energy of what we're doing. I think it's important to realize the programming that we have, that money is evil, that we've had for thousands of years, mainly from various authority figures, especially religious authority, that wanted to take it away from you to save you from all the evil. Money's not evil at all. It's not the root of evil either, because people that don't have bad motives inside, they're not going to be ruined by money. I've never seen that happen, and I've looked a lot at it. Money allows your real character to come out. So, you may lose it out of not being a very good business person until you learn better. But as far as actually using it to go out and create things that are harmful intentionally, that's just because that desire was there before. It's not because of the money. So the money itself can be used for wonderful good, and I think we need to be creative in looking for ways to do that, even in little bits that we handle. So anyway, I don't want to drag on too long. I really appreciate your being with us and getting to meet Alina. I hope that you go to her site, naturalclothingcompany.com, and at least read and stay up with it, even if you don't buy anything. But if you do shop, remember to use the discount code Lost Arts, and you can get 10% off on whatever you buy. And then also, as I always remind you, and you know unless you're a new listener, take a look at our site, because a lot of stuff there is free. Educational videos and articles that we're putting up very often. That's lostartsradio.com. Any comments that you want to make on any of them, either on the video, or you can always email richard@lostartsradio.com. I read all of those comments, suggestions, whatever you'd like to say, and I'll respond as time allows. Also on our site, lostartsradio.com, you'll see that the Diamond Report, Doug's production, is there. It's really good. It's a news review. And so is Alex Jones's program, which I think is spectacularly valuable. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I've never found a legitimate reason for their criticisms. I think, as far as I can tell, his program is a national treasure, and I would support it and keep it, going strong as long as possible. Tell other people. The mainstream news media is not worth watching, but Alex Jones's program is. He's a real person. He gets upset with what he has to report a lot of times, or act silly, but he's honest, and that is what makes it incredible. So all of our time is limited, and Doug has put a playlist of every day's Alex Jones news show on lostartsradio.com, and you can go there and watch it when you have time. Also, there's the newsletter, which is also free. You put your email in there, and you'll get information about upcoming shows and other important things that are happening. There's a discussion forum, which is also free, to talk about any of these ideas on any aspect of health or consciousness, or what's going on relevant to that in your life that you'd like to share, or have comments or questions about the show. The discussion forum is great for that. If you happen to have available money, there's buttons to donate that will help us keep doing our work, which I'd really appreciate if you can. Not if you're struggling to buy food and that sort of thing, please. But if you have resources and you want to help us, look at the donate button, and look at our nonprofit site also, lostartsresearchinstitute.org. It's got the details of one part of the school that I'm planning for us to build when we can, when the finances are available, and I'm working on that now. Also remember that Saturday night we have open discussion. I usually talk for a while during the first hour, but then we get into discussing these things and take a few calls. Anything that's come up during the week, or comments you have on any of the show material, world events, current events, which we're open to. Any of that stuff, that's on Saturday nights at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern U.S. time on Saturday. And after I talk, I'd be really glad to take your call if you want to join us. And if you're not in a part of the world where you can easily show up when the show is live on Saturdays, then send me an email about something you'd like to have covered on the show. I'll talk about it on the show, and then when you listen to the archive, you'll hear your topic addressed, and that might be a way that we can stay in more direct communication, even if your schedule does not allow you to participate when the live show is on. And this is an educational show. Both of them are. The guest show on Sundays and the call-in show on Saturdays, where I hope you'll come and be with us. It's for reminding you with all the negative propaganda around about how you're supposed to be dependent on experts to make all your decisions and see what to do with your life, that none of that is real, that you have incredible talent and unlimited abilities to remember and get back. It's all about that, and the health thing is only to start with your health, because if you get rid of your health problems and you get your body functioning in really good condition, then it's much easier to go further into areas of consciousness that are more subtle and that are internal. If your body is calm and relaxed and strong and everything's functioning smoothly, it makes it a lot easier. So to get that done, we need to remind and help each other as much as we can. The best way to help somebody is be an example. Do it yourself. And I'm working on the same thing myself. If I tell you guys anything, it means I'm also working on the same thing as well as I can. And it's just the place to start is always on yourself. And we all know for long experience, it's so much easier to critique the actions of everybody else. But what gives you the power to do something good in the world is finally to realize that's not the way to go, and you have to correct all these problems in your own self, and then whatever you say or do starts to have a major impact in a really good way. So remember to join us next Saturday, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. Have a great week, and I'll meet you back here then. Thanks for being with us. Talk to you then.
Listen to our new shows with guests every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. All new shows and archives are available at blogtalkradio.com/Lost Arts Radio. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Lost Arts Radio. We're on Twitter at Lost Arts Radio. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/C/Lost Arts Radio. Again, youtube.com/C/Lost Arts Radio. And scene.life, we're at Lost Arts Radio/profile. When you do your Amazon shopping, please use Amazon's Smile program at smile.amazon.com. And when you choose Lost Arts Research Institute in Sedona, Arizona as your charity, Amazon will donate 0.5% of whatever your order total is to Lost Arts Research Institute to help fund the building of the school and keep our radio show on the air. Please visit lostartsresearchinstitute.org for more information on the school we want to build. Be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter on our site under the Radio Show tab or right from the button on our Facebook page. You're also invited to join our free user forum on our website at lostartsradio.com. You can ask Richard a question there or post about any subject that you're interested in. Our forum is growing and we'd love to have you be part of that community. We keep it troll-free, so don't worry about others, paid or otherwise, speaking negatively or engaging in some sort of debunking tactic fakery. I closely monitor the forum for abuse, and we have a very strict one-strike-and-you're-out policy, which is why we require you to register your email address along with whatever screen name or username you want to use. We also have links to all of the great independent musicians whose music we feature each week on Lost Arts Radio. And if you like Lost Arts Radio, please consider donating a few bucks to help keep us on the air. We spend many, many hours each week to bring you the best show we can with the best guests around. You can find our donate button on our website at lostartsradio.com. Contact Richard at richard@lostartsradio.com or myself, Doug Diamond, at doug@lostartsradio.com. You can also find me on Facebook, scene.life, and gab.ai at Diamondisc, DIAMONDISC. My short new video blog or vlog is The Diamond Report, and that can also be found at www.thediamond.report. Thanks again for listening to Lost Arts Radio, and we'll see you again next week.
Life sure has its own sweet ways to knock you off your feet. Seeing you again tonight just did. Funny how the years have flown, nothing's changed, and girl, you know that I belong to you. For a moment I I went back in time, it passed before my eyes. The love, the heat, the passion that we shared. You look the same, so beautiful. Nothing's changed, and girl, you know you're still the one I want.